Hello, welcome to another video. Today I just want to do a little talk about what's coming with Borderlands 3, specifically Mayhem 2.0. So at the PAX announcement reveal-y thing, they revealed that Mayhem 2.0, the thing that they have been talking about for quite a while now, will be releasing sometime around April. So what is Mayhem 2.0? Well, we actually have some information. Well, it's not good information, I'm gonna be honest. They mentioned 10 Mayhem levels. 0 to 10. So, to me that says that they're spreading it out. Currently, the gap between Mayhem 3 and Mayhem 4 is huge. So, I feel as if they're going to be shrinking those gaps in the difficulty, as well as shrinking the gaps in the rewards. So, playing between Mayhem 6 and Mayhem 5, the difficulty isn't huge, but neither is the level of reward. So, you can kind of you can lower your difficulty a level and not be punished too much. So that's what that says to me, which is great. But it goes a bit more on from that. The modifiers, they're changing the modifiers. Now currently I kind of like the Mayhem 4 modifiers. They're there. If you see that you can get a bit of extra damage, you can, but you don't really feel like you're missing out if you're not playing to the positive modifiers. You know, you don't feel as if you're punishing yourself and not using a sniper rifle if there is sniper damage bonus. The only problem, the main one that I dislike in the Mayhem 4 modifiers is 25% less damage. Correct. I hate modifiers that change that make you do less. It's annoying. It's say, hey, we've got no negative modifiers, but we'll just buff the enemy in a way that it has the exact same outcome as just nerfing you. Instead of you dealing 25% less crit damage, the enemy takes 25% less crit damage. It's cheating. It's a cheat. So, I don't trust them at all when they say no negative modifiers. I don't trust them one bit, especially since I did read somewhere, making enemies take reduced damage. I'm sorry, no, that is just you do less damage. So we'll have to see that. Two specific modifier examples that they mentioned. There's going to be 25, by the way. One was giant heads, which seems funny for 10 minutes. And the other one's floor is lava. Now, floor is lava, I don't really mind. That's where if you stand still for X amount of time, you start taking damage. That, okay. Forces you to keep moving, that's fine. Movement's good. I move all the time anyway. The main problem here is poor old Flak. Flak's got that skill. Standing still, you do more damage. Yeah, screw Flak. Screw that skill. You don't need it anymore. Floor is lava time. But yeah, anyway, back onto big heads. Now, they said, like, they don't want them to be gameplay changing, but I can't see how this isn't gameplay changing. Because they said you as well, right? So, if you've got a giant head, most of the enemies shooting at you will hit a crit, you'll take more damage. This I just see as punishing aggressive play, if you're just going to be taking more damage. You're already taking a lot of damage when you're playing aggressively. So I just see that as a punishment. As well as also, if everyone's got a giant head, what's stopping me from just equipping a wedding invitation and stomping everything? The balancing factor of a wedding invitation is you have to actually hit a headshot, which isn't, something that you can do all the time, 24/7, and just flick shot on everyone, you have to be really good to be able to do that, but not if everyone's got a giant head. Also, what happens to just kind of the atmosphere of the game? Like, okay, very emotional part of the game, whether it be in the next DLC or, you're playing... You're playing the DLC for the first time, right? Light DLC spoiler here. It's based on a wedding. You go into this wedding, and there's the two people there. It's super emotional. They're about to kiss, but they've got heads the size of the moon. Like, what? How does that work? So, I'm not a huge fan of giant heads, and that's only the two that they've shared out of, I don't know, the 25. We'll have to see what the other ones are, but I'm not too big of a fan, honestly. Ideally, I would say if they really believe that these modifiers do not affect difficulty, I would hope for them to not directly link them to the difficulty. The higher the Mayhem level, the higher the difficulty. The Mayhem level is tied to enemy health scaling. Higher the Mayhem, the more health the enemies have, the more difficult it is. Why are the random modifiers also tied to the health scaling? Can't they be two separate sliders? so I could have a really difficult game but with no randomness, or if I just played an hour a week and I just wanted a bit of fun, I wasn't very good, played Mayhem 0, could I play Mayhem 0 but have it random as heck, all 25 modifiers active? I just want the craziest, most random, ridiculous game that isn't pushing me to get the best gear and the best builds because I don't want to play a particularly difficult game. I think making two separate sliders to have either of those extremes or everything in between would be way, way better than forcing everyone who wanted a random game to play a difficult game and forcing everyone who wanted a difficult game to play a random game. Can't we choose? If these modifiers are not supposed to affect difficulty, why are they locked to difficulty? So that's my main concerns with just how it's built. But now let's talk about the actual, Mayhem system itself. Specifically, the way weapons will get more damage the higher the Mayhem drops. Randy talked about this on stage, and there's an article by Mental Mars which basically just took everything that Gearbox said and summed it up in an article. I'll link to it in the description. And basically, as you raise through the Mayhems, the damage of your guns of a Mayhem, so say like a Mayhem 4 Cutsman will do more damage than a Mayhem 3 Cutsman. Kind of like OP levels from Borderlands 2. So we've got the regearing aspect of OP levels, where you gotta work through the OP levels to get higher and higher, and the randomness of Mayhem, which to me is just the worst of both systems combined, but hey. And then this made me ask a lot of questions about how Mayhem 2 is going to work. If our gun damage is being increased, what about our shields? Are our shields going up? Are we getting tougher shields? And if our shields are increased, what about enemy damage? Currently, enemy damage does not go up during the higher Mayhems. Now, of course, the higher Mayhems are harder because it takes longer to kill enemies, which means you are taking more damage overall because there's more enemies alive. But the actual damage that a particular enemy does not go up. But if we're getting stronger shields, then they have to now. So if enemy damage increases, what happens to our maximum hit points? Do they stay the same? Because when our level's not going up, they didn't in OP levels. So if enemies are doing more damage, but our max HP is staying the same, then any passive regen, particularly on Flak or Amara, they'll just suffer. Now already people don't like using passive regen, I personally like it a lot. I've been running an Amara build recently that uses Max Samsara and Clarity, and you can watch that health bar just fly up. And it works. But with this new system, it seems like it might not. Which, if our damage goes up, but our HP stays the same, and, passive regen's being a little bit punished, lifesteal's is going to become stronger, because we'll get more health back per bullet fired. So lifesteal's going to become more and more leaned on. I feel like I recognize this kind of level of, like, what happens to the gameplay here, almost as if it happened last game. We saw this with OP levels. It just came super reliant on lifesteal to the fact where you fire one bullet and you're back above health gate, and that's what the game revolved around. And, well, what was one thing that happened in OP levels? Dots. Damage over times. Will we just get one shot by a dot on Mayhem 10? Like, it already kind of happens with Max and Anima, right? If you're playing Amara, you got Max and Anima, you end up getting a dot, and it just murders you, and you just insta-die. Is that just going to happen with every dot now? And then, back with the core of Mayhem. If enemy hit points gets increased along with Mayhem, which we can expect, along with potentially our shields and lifesteal, what happens to melee and action skills? If our damage is going up, the enemy health is going up, if our defense is going up from shields and lifesteal, what about melee and action skills? Will they be left behind? Like they already are. Will they be left behind even more? Will Digiclone and Ironbearer just get utterly destroyed on summon? Will the pet just die all the time unless you're using Gamma Burst? What happens to them? And what happens to multiplayer level scaling as well? If I joined a friend at a lower Mayhem, will my damage from my guns from being a higher Mayhem scale correctly, or will I be just walking around being a one-shotting machine with OP gear? So many questions, and I really, really hope Gearbox has thought about them all, and not only thought about them all, but actually, sorted it all out to be an actual good difficulty level. I like this game a lot. I like the core gameplay, but I don't want it to just follow down the exact same route as BL2. I hoped BL3 would be different to BL2, but still really, really good. You know, it's got a better base. It's got repeatable circle of slaughters. I love the takedown. It's got proving grounds. All the stuff that BL2 never had on launch. So I'm really excited to see where BL3 goes. I'm not excited for Mayhem 2. I am not excited for the direction of this endgame difficulty. So, yeah. And then of course we go into Annoyance. I'll be expecting near guaranteed Annoyance on OP10. OP10. Mayhem 10. If we're gonna do nothing but buff these Annoyance to the point that we're doing over double damage with them than without, yeah, you can say, oh, you don't need Annoyance, look at me doing this hard difficulty thing without Annoyance. Yeah, you can say that, but you also can't say Annoyance don't make a huge difference. They do. People don't look at non-anointed legendaries. There's no point. So if we're going to put a lot of reliance on Annoyance, please just make them nearly guaranteed. Ideal world, I'd say remove all of the action skill and Annoyance. Dramatically decrease the damage of all the others to make the sliding and airborne Annoyance just kind of more viable, you know? Reward us for playing fancy. Don't reward us for just hoping our action skill ends quickly. You know, the reason we don't use Gorillas in the Mist is because it doesn't end quickly enough to cycle your bloody Annoyance. So, but yeah, if we're going down that, you know, reliance on high-powered Annoyance, at least make them guaranteed. So anyway, I'm gonna probably just end it there with a rundown of what Mayhem 2 appears to be, based on the knowledge we have, as well as a bunch of questions that just make me worried about it. And anything that you're concerned about with Mayhem 2, or have I got it wrong? Are you really looking forward to it? Let me know if you are and why you are. I'm curious to read your opinions on it. But with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.